Hello, everyone. Welcome to Navigating. Welcome, Zee. Welcome, Vedant. We have a lot to unpack here, whatever happened this week. And one of the biggest thing was the crash out of a woman in Mumbai. And we're going to talk about that, what it all means and why it happened. My first reaction to that video was she actually lived a dream day of every single common person. And I think we kind of imagine ourselves after we come home after a long day that what if I actually went there and talked to that person that way, like crash out, and I become a hero on social media because I kind of gave an amazing speech. And I think it was such a valid crash out, and it was such a big thing that people obviously shared because he spoke on whatever we feel every day when we are in a traffic, like why is this stupid person doing this right now? So it was something to cherish, I think, after a really bad couple of months for the world. But yeah, like I said, a lot to unpack here. And I'll come to what you all felt. But first, let's talk about what exactly happened and what was the background very quickly. Vedan, can you just share that with us?
So yeah, the video that you're talking about, it's from a protest which was because of a bill that was not passed in the parliament, which is a pretty new thing because I think it was the first bill that was not passed under the Modi government since it came into power. So the bill that the ruling party is focused on is the women's reservation, which is around, like, the bill says that around 33% of the seats in the Lok Sabha or the parliament, they should be reserved for women. But that is the narrative that is being spread in the media by the ruling party. It actually ties down to a much larger picture where that bill is linked to the delimitation bill, which in turn says that the capacity of the parliament should be increased from, I think it is around 543 seats right now, something, to more than 850 seats in the parliament. So this delimitation law or bill, it has been passed in India way earlier. It was implemented in 1951, 1961, and then 1971, and after that it stopped. Basically, what it says is that every member in the Lok Sabha, so basically all the members in the Lok Sabha represent a specific constituency from the various states of India based on the population. So, say for example, if Maharashtra has more population, then obviously the people required to govern the people in Maharashtra, the citizens of Maharashtra, need to be more because the population is high compared to some states which have lesser population. So that law states that every time a census is done and an increase in population takes place, the seats in the Lok Sabha should also increase where the population has increased. So, for example, if the population in Maharashtra has increased, the people from the constituencies in Maharashtra should also increase in the Lok Sabha. So now, because the population of India has obviously increased a lot, and the census is going to take place, as we know, in the coming years, so the BJP government is proposing that we should increase the number of members in the Lok Sabha to more than 850. Now, the opposition is against this bill because mainly because the population, as we know, is much greater in the north compared to the south, and the north is where BJP has a lot of power compared to the south where it is not in power. So it makes sense for the BJP to have more members from its constituency in the Lok Sabha if they want to, pass more bills. But it does not make sense for the opposition because there will be lesser representation from the south where they are in power. So that is why they are opposing this bill. Now, the Women's Reservations Rights Bill, it was passed in 2023 itself, but because that bill is linked to this bill, which says that the 33% reservation of the women will only come into power once this delimitation takes place. So once this happens, then the 33%, what do you say, the seats will be reserved
Yeah.
for the women. So that is what the opposition is saying, that if you want the reservation for women, why don't you do it in the current state of the Lok Sabha, based on the current members? Why do you want the members to be increased? We are in favor of the rights of the women to represent that gender in the Lok Sabha, but we are not in favor of increasing the seats, which will give the ruling party more power. So that is basically the essence of why this entire protest was organized by the BJP, where they are talking about the narrative that the opposition is against women and we support women. We want women to be represented, but the opposition is not allowing us. So
And plus,
that
the delimitation will only happen when the census happens, which
yeah,
is
because
like,
that is when we get to
hmm,
know what exactly the
yeah,
population is, right?
And I think the census is going to reveal some crazy numbers that
yeah.
we can't even imagine. Like,
It's
Yeah.
been a while. It's been a long,
yeah.
long, long.
Do you have you ever seen those maps on social media where they divide 2 billion people and then say that the entire continent of North America,
Oh,
South
yeah.
America,
Yes,
like
yes.
America has 2 billion, Europe, Africa has 2 billion, China, India.
Yeah,
Like if the census happens, perhaps that reduces to just India, where we have that kind of a population.
yeah.
But yeah, so this background happened, and then can you take us also through the video exactly? Like what exactly happened in that video?
So now this is very funny because the ruling party is protesting against the opposition for something, and it is coming on the streets. So just think about it for a second. The party who is ruling the country, which has all the powers, is actually protesting against the opposition, which is not in power. Let that sink in for a second. So that was what the protest was about. A lot of the women from BJP and a lot of the women who were against this decision of the opposition, what do you say, going against the bill, they came out on the streets of Mumbai to organize that protest, where a politician from the BJP, Girish Mahajan, was leading it, and there were a lot of people from the party walking down the streets of Mumbai to protest. Now, what this did was obviously that it created a lot of traffic jams because the people were walking, hundreds and thousands of people were walking on the streets, and that obviously will cause a traffic jam because the vehicles have no way to go through. So then a woman came and she started, what do you say? She started
Yeah,
protesting
he
against this
started to become a
protest.
hero for all of us.
Yeah, she started protesting against this protest of women. A woman came
Yeah,
to protest against the protest which was in favor of women.
yeah,
And so she started shouting at the policemen who were there. She started shouting at the politician, and she was saying that, can't you see that there is a lot of traffic that is taking place? If you want to protest, go to some other place. Why are you causing inconvenience to the
There
citizens?
was a ground. There was a ground that was right beside the
Yeah,
road. She was asking
yeah.
them to go to the ground and protest instead of blocking the streets.
Yeah. And
yeah.
then when the policemen, they were like, okay, you calm down and you go away. She started shouting at them as well that, are you stupid? Are you not seeing what
Yeah.
is happening? Why are you not going there? So that is basically what the video
So
is
yeah,
about.
so I have three videos to for us to just look at and then discuss further. So let's get to the first one first. Is the screen visible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see the first few seconds of this video.
जिससे बातें आप कहाँ रहते हैं? आप कहाँ रहते हैं? यहाँ रहते हैं। चलो आप क्या प्रॉब्लम है? मुझे प्रॉब्लम है कि मैं इस रोड पर 1 घंटे से ज्यादा खड़ी हूँ। क्यों खड़ी हूँ? कहाँ पे वहाँ ठीक है आपका? चलो 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 चलो। आवाज कम करो। आवाज कम करो। आवाज कम करो।
First of all, I think you know what, let's just look at whatever. So first of all, the police officer is completely like he's frightened. He's like, I mean, I was just here to do my job because he's at this position that he's already given his morals and principles to be here because obviously honesty does not give you to give you an opportunity to work in Mumbai or like work with a politician. So obviously he's given up that all. I'm sure that he was an honest person. He's like, okay, my duty today is just to be here, try to control, and then she comes up and He's like, आपका क्या problem है? And he's like, why is he's incapable of understanding that sitting in a car during traffic is a big inconvenience for everyone. And even if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, it's still an inconvenience. So asking what's your problem is like either he doesn't exactly know what common people go through every day, or the second thing is like he's just panicked and he's like, okay, just give me what's your problem is. I'll try to solve it. And then she's continuously shouting, and in the end, he goes on and say, "Awas, come, please, like, don't let all the people know that I'm here. I don't want chaos. I'm not ready for this, man." So it was so funny. Obviously, the main thing was when she said that you have a ground go over there and don't like I'm waiting for 1 hour and other things. So first of all, she was so articulate about all of that that I felt that first of all, if we go out and if we start ranting, we are out of words and we sort of ruin that moment for
Yeah.
us. But she was so articulate. That means that she had a better impact because she was very clear in what she needs. And then the second thing was that whatever questions were asked, she was so rational and logical about it, and she was also a bit condescending about it. Like, where do you live? I live here. Like, what's your problem? I'm waiting. I mean, are you a stupid person? So yeah, that was just so funny. Like no one knew how to handle this because in India, this doesn't happen. In India, no one just comes out of the script and goes against the literal people in power and start questioning them or start ranting against them. So yeah, what was your reaction to this video?
So firstly, it was very refreshing to see someone go on the street actually and shout on the person who is doing a rally like that, because usually people don't do it like you said. We are just sitting in the traffic all that while, and the only thing that we do is we just sit there and we complain between ourselves. But then there have been so many incidences where people are outraged over all of these things, because now this was particularly for this bill, and like they were like, at least for them, they were rallying for a cause. But there are so many incidences apart from this where political rallies are constantly happening. Like they are happening even during elections. And in this time, these are not organized, like they are not organized properly. When a rally like this is happening, it's not that when they block a road, it's not that they reroute people to another road, or they make sure that the traffic is not caused, or there is no inconvenience to the day to day life of people. It's that this doesn't happen. They just come on the street. I don't know how many times they even have the permit to do a rally. And you know how easy it is to manipulate the system these days. So for a politician to come on the streets and do a rally during elections is very easy. It's a cakewalk for them. I'm pretty sure. So during this time, I don't know if they even have a permit to do it. And when they come on a street, it's usually a bigger street, obviously, to catch eyeballs and to have all of those people on the street for that cause, for the political party. And obviously the person who is doing only his daily job, they're just like going about their day. Their day is hampered because these people are on the streets and doing this thing. Now my perspective on this is that protesting and rallies are a very integral part of democracy, and we cannot say that rallies cannot happen, or that rallies should only happen in grounds, or they should only happen in front of the parliament. So that those things cannot happen is what I think. Um so I think this takes me back to a conversation that I had with my dad. I think like a few months ago, farmers were having a rally on the highway. There was a protest on the highway, and the entire highway was blocked, and people were like stranded there for 10 hours or something. So that was the time that I had a conversation with him, asking him if it is fine for people who are just going about their day to suffer only because a rally like this is happening on the highway. It does not seem fair. Like if we were in a bus traveling on the highway, and the highway was fully blocked by farmers, would it be fair for us? It's not fair for them. We know that it's not fair for the farmers to be in this position, in the position that they are in India, but would it be fair for us? And his answer was that it's not about fair or unfair. It's about making sure that the government gets the wake up call, because so much inconvenience happens during protests. That is why the government has to take charge and has to do something out of it, because so many people are inconvenienced by it. That actually makes sense, right? When you think about
Yeah.
it, it actually makes sense, because when I am in a bus and I am stranded on the highway, I am going to call up authorities and tell them, why are they on the street, and why don't you take them out of there? Do something about it. So if 100 people like these are complaining to the officials and to the system, that might be a nudge for them to do something. So that sounds like a good enough reason, but then is it fair for the people to suffer only
But
because
I think
something like this happens?
Yeah, but I think the why that protest is happening also plays a role, right? And I
Yeah,
think
of course.
if you are a like a citizen who actually cares about other citizens, obviously you're not going to say anything if there's slight inconvenience.
Yeah,
Okay, you have to kind of go through the
yeah,
traffic, but at least the traffic is moving. But you do understand that this protest is important for these people, so the inconvenience is that you'll probably reach half an hour late, but the traffic is moving. But if
yes,
you are, and I completely agree with the point, I'm not trying to argue against the point.
yeah,
I think I'm for it. In this instance, I think what happened is that, first of all, the protest was taken by the government itself. And like she, I think, waited for 59 minutes. And when the hand struck the hour, she was like, I'm already have waited for
yeah,
so long. The traffic is
yeah,
not moving. This is ridiculous. Because
yeah,
even if I think the traffic was moving, she wouldn't have said anything, because I think she lives in Mumbai. She must have been accustomed to all of this. Like, yeah, there's traffic and I have to wait for a lot of time. And that's why that inconvenience was so high that, you know what, you have a ground and you have somewhere to go. Please go. Let me go
yes.
from here. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
and
I that brings me to sorry, Vedant, please.
no, so I was just saying that because you also mentioned the farmers' protest. So there was also another video which had went viral during that time. I don't know if you have seen it or not. It was about a woman. She was sitting in her car and she was obviously stuck in traffic because of the farmers. And then there was a farmer who came there and she was showing him the middle finger. And she was
Yeah,
obviously also very agitated because of it. So at that time also everyone, so what happened at that time was everyone started uh, bashing that woman as to
yes,
why are you doing this, or this is not appropriate because these farmers are protesting for their right. So I think,
yeah,
as Avnish said, why the protest is
yes,
taking place also matters, because at that time those farmers were protesting to probably make a point to the government or make their voice feel heard. But
yeah,
when a government in power is itself is protesting, there it just makes it ironic, because who are they protesting against? They're protesting
yeah,
against themselves. Like, who is going to bring about this change? Because their own what do you say, their own alliance members and party members probably did not vote in favor of this, because the
yes,
opposition does not have the majority in the Lok
yeah,
Sabha. The ruling party and its alliances does. So then it just means that probably they are protesting against their own members. So that, I think, is probably what makes a difference, is
And also,
what
yeah,
they're protesting
yeah,
against.
and also, like this Zui's point earlier on, that when she actually went and talked directly to the leader, Girish Mahajan, I think, yeah. So if I was just imagining, okay, what if this happened in USA or in Europe? Like, how will a politician actually behave? So protests are integral part of democracy, and also peaceful protest is, I think, a word that has to be added in that. And when something like this happened, I think I have seen a lot of protests happen, but the government, even if it is against the government, they make sure that they are able to have this rally, whoever is protesting, and it doesn't cause inconvenience to the regular citizens. So they try to do something about it and try to, make the traffic go on some other roads, or maybe perhaps increase, it's planned. It's kind of planned, like, okay, the public transport fees will be reduced so that
mm,
maybe there is a distribution of the commute. that thing happened. And but when she approached Girish Mahajan, I think what he should have done, if he was a good politician or if he was a high standard politician, he would have said, you know what, you're right, you're absolutely right, I have the power right now to actually stop this rally, tell people, let the traffic go, we'll wait for 15 minutes, clear the road, let them pass by, and then we'll continue again. And I think someone like Zohran Mamdani would have 100% done that, because I think when they're taught to be a politician, these are the foundations that are taught to them, like whatever you do, you have to keep the public first. And that
Mm.
I think we don't hold our politicians to that standard. We
Yeah,
feel as though they are someone who are there to do whatever they want, and because these big personalities and they are our saviors. But
yeah,
we don't hold them to high standards. We have to hold them to the highest of the highest standards, where he should have stopped the rally and said, let the traffic pass by, and I will just wait. We'll wait
yeah,
and we'll go to someplace else, or we have to do it by managing and not keeping or not moving the people in such trouble that her child was actually waiting for her in school, and
yeah.
she was like completely. And I think she didn't even go there on the first minute, right? She waited for
Oh,
an hour, which was, again, I mean, that tells you that it's not that she's an elite, someone who can't handle minor inconveniences.
yeah.
So that's
And in
also.
India, I think it is very usual. Yeah, I mean, it's become very normalized for people to wait for the VIP cars to pass. If a politician is going by, the entire traffic is stopped over there, and the convoy
Yeah,
is to be passed before. So, this is like, I would be fine if it was just for the CM or the PM, and like treatment for those people who are actually on a position where their safety is also important. But even for a local politician, something like this happens a lot. And
yeah.
obviously, people will be enraged by stuff like this because their day to day lives are always hampered in all of this. And
Mhm.
when a police is standing in front of you and they are stopping the traffic, there is nothing you can do about it. Like you feel
Yeah,
almost helpless. So that is
exactly.
why this woman like doing that was actually. I feel like this might have reignited some feelings in like other people as well. When something like this
Yeah.
happens, it's good for you to go and talk to them about it.
Also, so I'll come to this part where I had three sentences prepared, and I want you both to complete those sentences so that we can dive deeper into more things. And I want to talk something that Vedant also told me a few days ago. So the first sentence is, the others around her and in the traffic didn't do anything because. So my answer to this sentence, or the completion to this sentence, is I think in India, we have been conditioned to not talk against power because of the fear of the institutions that are responsible to back us not backing us. That
Mm.
means the justice system and the court and the police themselves. And that's why people don't stand up to power, because they know that this inconvenience is much better than my entire life being inconvenient because I chose to stand up against power. And that's the thing. And I'll come to you now. Yeah.
I mean, I totally agree. This would be my answer as well. And overall, on this situation, that is exactly what I felt, is that she
Mm.
received a lot of support because all of us kind of dream of doing something like this, but we can't because of our reasons. And that is why we felt represented when someone actually stood up against power. So the reason why we don't do it is because, as Avnish said, we sometimes we probably lack the courage, and other times we just think about the safety of our family or ourselves, because we know that the system in India always favors the one with money or power. And if we go out and we get caught in something like this, where the police or some person in power or some very powerful personality, they kind of trap us into this, or they misuse their power to cause harm, or you know trap us in this overall
Yeah,
structure. We don't have the money or power to get out of it, and our entire life and our family's life will probably get wasted in fighting the battle for justice. And we won't even probably get that in the end. So that is why a lot of the people just prefer to stay out of things like this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's the correct answer for this, because for anyone other than the higher class, everyone below them, they are always afraid of the system because it simply never works in their favor. And it has happened with me so many times that when I am on the roads and when someone breaks a rule or they skip a signal, I am very mad at them and I hurl out curse. I say a lot of mean things. So that you guys have said that to me so many times, saying that you should just control, because uh you don't know how the other person will react, even though they are at fault. And uh, they we don't know how much power they have
Yeah,
on us. So
also
now that
because
is with like normal people, but imagine if it happens
yeah,
with a political
exactly.
party or with a police.
And one more fear is I think violence comes so naturally
Yeah,
here, and it's like we don't have a very immediate response to violence. So the immediate response to violence is not punishment, is or it's not again the institutions backing us. Because imagine in USA or in Europe, if someone comes at you and threatens you, they can actually go to the police and have a restraining order against them. If they have two restraining orders, they actually have a huge consequence against
yes,
them. So
yes.
it's like when you talk, and again, there's another experience my mother also has a lot of times, is when people come to her and ask for this Vargani thing, which is
Mm,
donations for arranging events for Ganpati or arranging events for Shivaji Maharaj. And she is like, I don't want to, because you're not like what do you say, actually promoting the good values and things of this deity and this king, and I actually have a huge respect about both things, but like I don't want you to fund your activities. But
yeah,
then she also feels very afraid that if she rejects, what if like they keep that in mind and do something about it, because she
yeah,
knows that if someone comes there and threatens her or makes her life inconvenience, she can't actually directly go and talk to the police or something. And because she doesn't know that what kind of a connection this man has, why do that? Because again, the systems that are supposed to back me up are not going to back me up. And that's why again, a lot of people who do think, or who are nice, who are good, who do have a sense of justice, don't quite come forward with that. The next sentence is, and Vedan, you can answer this first. Um, yeah. So even after she directly questioned the a big political leader, she didn't face immediate consequences because
So yeah, I mean, because we discussed about this I also thought about was because that she probably, based on her looks and the way she was speaking, people when they saw the video, including me, they assumed that she was from a privileged background or belonging to the upper class. And politicians or the policemen, they don't want to do something that can backfire on them by upsetting that particular section of people. So that is why I think they treated her with what do you say, a lot more respect than they would
mm,
have done if it was a rickshawala, a bus driver, or a street vendor fighting against or talking in to them in the same manner. So yeah, that is what I felt.
yeah, Jay.
yeah. I think I actually wrote down these points when I was researching yesterday, that to think that a person who is stuck in traffic for 1 hour getting mad at the political party and going and hurling things at them is one thing, but to think that a privileged woman who actually these people, they don't actually get into stuff like this. You don't see an upper class woman get into minor inconveniences like this, but she got into it, and she made sure that she went ahead and she solved that issue. So that was the part that I was mainly thinking about. That these privileged people, when like I don't want to say this in the wrong way, but the higher class people who are not inconvenienced by minor things like these,
Yeah.
when they say stuff like this to the opposition, to the ruling party or to the authorities, that creates a very different kind of impact, because for them the possibility of consequences is much lesser than that for a middle class or a lower class person. And they to use that privilege and create change is a very good thing. And we know that a lot of people in her place might not have done it directly. They probably might have called someone up, someone that they know, some other policeman, or they would have used their contacts to get their way out of it. But she made sure that she actually addressed the issue, and she went ahead and talked about it, and she was mad about it, and she made sure that her anger was like on her face and with what she said. So these things actually do impact the people who I mean, the people who talk about it, they are impacted by these things. So uh, to think to think that I should do this without thinking about the consequence is a good thing. And privileged people or upper class people, more and more, we need more and more people from that sector to go and talk to the authorities about stuff like this, because the consequences that they will face must be much lesser than the one that we face. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
And
good
I
point.
think just another point, something like this had also, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but last year there was also this issue of street dogs, where a lot of the people who were protesting were also from a privileged background, because this issue was about dogs. And I think the government, like the Supreme Court, also reversed its decision of, I think it was about the street dogs in Delhi. So yeah, I think,
Hmm.
as she said, the government actually takes the issue more seriously if these particular section of people also talk about it. And another reason why I felt was that, because something that you said in the beginning, Avnish, when we were watching that video, was that the policemen did not know what to say. I think they were also kind of taken by surprise, because they were not expecting someone to come out and go against their protest. So I think that was another reason, that it was because they did not expect it. They did not know what to say or how to react to it as well. Because if it was, if it happened with, as I said, if it happened with someone like a rickshawala or someone, they would have probably just shut him down, or if he continued to protest, they would have arrested him and taken him
Yeah,
to jail. But
yeah.
in this particular situation, because they don't know how to deal with this type of crowd, they were just taken by surprise.
Yeah, I think it also comes down to the class system that we have, and we have to
Hmm.
address that, because oftentimes there's also a big backlash when we talk about these things. I think if it was a Dalit, if it was a lower caste person, or if it, like you said, a working class person, or if it was a person who is a everyday office person who has a shirt tucked in, and he has like specs, and he's there on a scooter and wants to meet his family because he's taken a half day, they they will not get that this kind of a treatment that she got. Like, she at least got to complete her sentence, but this guy wouldn't have been able to do that. He would have shunned outside, away, and the police would have like just taken him away, because I think everything fell very perfectly into her situation. First
Hmm.
of all, she, like you said, she is a privileged person, looks like that. She is a woman, because even though women are not treated really well on behind the scenes in India, but in front of the camera, we
Yeah.
still carry out this sentiment that I can't hit a woman, and it's like a big sin, because there is huge noise if person in authority kind of hits a privileged woman, because recently there was also a video where a policeman actually harassed, or kind of was violent against a lower caste, or not a lower caste but a lower economic class woman, and no one actually talked that much about it.
There was one about a transgender being hit as well, a trans
Yeah,
woman being
yeah,
like
exactly.
really badly hit.
Yeah, so she wasn't that, and that's also went into her favor. I think she was speaking in English and Hindi, that went to her favor, because then
Yeah.
that meant that she was obviously not a local Marathi person. and will face much less consequences because she is from the other state. Maybe even if we can assume that okay, she's lived in Mumbai for her entire life, but obviously because she didn't speak in Marathi, if Maharashtra government authority did something to her, obviously there is going to be a backlash for the from the other state as well, and then that's going to cause a lot of problems. So I think a lot of things fell in this moment, and this is the other side to it, the unfortunate side to it. Like not everyone can do what she did, but the fortunate side is that because she did what she did, there was talk about all of these things, and we are talking about all of these things, and the class system plays a huge role when it comes
Yeah.
to a situation like this. And I think this is such a big cultural point because we haven't seen this happen for a lot of time. I think uh, last 15 years when we have been online, I don't think I have seen this rant
Mm.
and majority of the internet being for the person who has done that, because I've seen a lot of people coming forward and fight or like talk against or talk about the police or stand against them and talk with them. I think there was another video that came up very recently where a father was fighting against a policeman, saying that you are VIP. It's been 1 hour
Mm.
I've been sitting here. My boy is
Mm.
ill and he wants to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that didn't make a lot of noise because again, these things didn't come to his rescue. If he like kind of, and that again addresses the issue that India also has. India has an aesthetic problem as well. So if you're aesthetically really good looking and have a
Right.
like a body and you look rich, then again people are going to listen to you more than whatever the content of your rant or your speech is. So these are also like issues that are there, and I mean I sometimes find it very funny in a sense that how are we here, like where how did we reach here from 1947 where we were like really oppressed. How did we cultivate a society where all of these things play such a big role? Your religion plays a big role, your caste plays a big role, your aesthetics plays a big role, your financial situation plays a big role. It becomes about status, it becomes about authority. So it's kind of amusing to me, like how did we end up here as well? So yeah. And lastly, the sentence was like a brave act like this is carried out because. But I think we have answered a few things about it. But my opinion about it is that a brave act is carried out because, first of all, either you have the feeling that you have nothing to lose right now, or the things that are going to happen by not doing the act are going to be more inconvenient to you
Mm.
than acting on that. And I think
Yeah.
that plays a lot of role because we are constantly judging our actions. If I do this, what are the consequences, and if I'm ready to face those consequences. Obviously sane and rational people do this. Sometimes there are people who obviously don't think of that way, or maybe their logical thinking does not take them to a path where they consider all the consequences. So that's something that I feel. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is like absolute desperation
Yeah.
to get to, like, if you want to address a situation like this, or it is like absolute privilege. So
Yeah.
I feel like in that
Yeah.
spectrum, it usually you feel like you have to do it. You have to make
Yeah.
a choice.
And I think things have also kind of, right now reached closer to the boiling point because because through social media, we've been constantly exposed to content where we see one or the other politician. Now, this is not related to some specific party. This includes like all politicians where they are saying like they're either abusing their power or they are saying something that probably showcases their lack of basic common sense or even lack of education, where they value some very superficial things over things that actually matter. And we also see how people are actually, in spite of all of this, people treat politicians like gods. They have forgotten that they are supposed to be public servants first. And but people are, slow, like kind of worshipping them,
Yeah.
even when we have been seeing that basic necessities like breathing air quality is not right. People are not getting the like drinking water is also contaminated, due to which people are dying, and lots of other incompetency is being exposed. So now naturally everyone is thinking that, like, why are we actually being governed by these people who do not even understand basic things that matter? So that has kind of reached the boiling point, and that is why this video also went viral, because
And
everyone was
also,
like, yeah, she's speaking the
yeah.
right things.
Also, we need to consider that this sentiment that you just described, I think that is with the people who have the privilege to actually know
Yeah.
about this stuff. And I'll come to this one frame where I was watching a video. There was this woman who was it looked like she wasn't from the most privileged background, and she maybe came from the village for the rally, like often happens in government rallies, or like whenever a political party has a rally, they hire people or they give people money, or they just uh, uh, notify all their Nagar Sevaks to bring in their family for the rally, so that there are a lot of people. So she was watching all of this, and like her facial expressions was of confusion. Like, and obviously there's going to be confusion in that situation because she
Yeah.
doesn't know what's happening. But I remembered then when you talked about probably some people do not even know the concept of questioning the people in power, and I think that expression was did sum up this statement of yours, because if you're not in a city, in a urban area, living your life, having a home, I think for the last 75, 76 years, people who are not in power, people who are below poverty or of lower caste, they have been through these subliminal messaging, through use of power, they through like actions of power, the concept of questioning something, concept of standing up for yourself has been removed from their generations. So they don't understand this act at all. They don't, probably that's not even, if there is some inconvenience, the first thought is that I should adjust to this inconvenience more than what if I do something to change this. They
Yeah.
don't know that what are the standards right now of the world. Maybe because the information is not reaching them, maybe because whatever factors we just discussed. And it just makes me uh, not sad. I wouldn't say sad, but I think it makes me that there is so much work to be done in all of these things. So, there is often a question when a lot of us think that, okay, we see protests in Serbia, for example, or we see protests against the American decision of going into Iran for a war. And we saw a lot of protests. We saw a lot of protests for Palestinians in USA as well and in Europe as well. And we feel that, why or in Nepal as well, for example, we saw a lot of change happening in Nepal because the youth stood up, and we feel, when are we going to do this? When is India going to do this? But I think we miss this point, that if you are thinking that if there is a protest against some people in power and they are talking about changing India, I'm going to join it. I think you are privileged enough to not be inconvenienced enough, and that goes again, like it's a contradictory statement, because if you're thinking of protest, you're privileged enough to know that you can have a protest against something. But if you don't know that you can protest, that means that you are so inconvenienced that you have lost all concept of fighting back, but now you're just looking at survival. And that's the thing that that is the big blockage why India, it's going to take a lot of time for the entirety of India to come together to do something, because there is a huge chunk of population living in rural areas, living in villages, living in the most uh, unhygienic and the most cramped and the most unplanned areas in urban cities, where they are just fighting so much for survival that not working for even 2 hours or 3 hours and going to a protest is not in their book at all. And that's where I think that's also a big contradictory statement, I feel. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the things that we talked about earlier, where why didn't the other people go out and join her, that woman, in her protest? That was also for the probably the middle class from the
Mm.
urban cities.
Yeah.
Because, as you said, we are privileged enough to know that we can probably go out and protest. We just choose not to. But if it was someone from the rural areas or very economically backward, class, their first instinct is not to think that this is causing me inconvenience. Their first instinct is to feel proud that this particular person or they are doing something for the nation, because they have been fed the narrative that they are, whatever they are doing is for their own good, for the common people's good. And their first instinct would be to actually go and capture a video or a photo of the rally and post it on their story and feel proud about it, rather than think that this is an inconvenience to them. So that is, as you said, that is a big challenge, where actually educating people from those particular sections is as important as going out and protesting. Because if, imagine that we are just not choosing to do it, but if someone doesn't even know that they can do it, it is much worse than actually not, than
Yeah.
having a
Yeah.
choice of whether to do it or not.
Yeah.
And also
uh
another thing that we didn't talk about is the complaint that was
Yeah.
yeah.
you know uh, filed against the women. So I'll just based on what I read. So a woman named Zen Sadavarte, she is a lawyer. She went out and filed a complaint against the woman, alleging that she had disrupted the protest and abused the protesters and whatever. So I was just, obviously, like, even you guys, I was curious as to who is this woman and why would she go out and file a complaint despite being a woman and all of that. So I just read about her, and there was some interesting facts, like she actually won the National Bravery Award at the age of 12 from the Prime Minister, because she saved 10 lives from a burning building in Mumbai. So she has a National Bravery Award. But then I read that she is also the daughter of a father, of a lawyer named Gunratna Sadavarte. And I was reading upon him. And what I read some articles from Indian Express and some other stories. So he's a well-known lawyer. He's often seen in the news, and he was also at the forefront of legal controversies and the recent protests, like the Maratha reservation process,
Mm.
the dispute between Parambir Singh and Anil Deshmukh, and the MSRT staffers movement, where they actually wanted equal rights as government employees. So he was at the forefront of that. So this article talked about how he is actually close to the BJP, or close to the what do you say, the ruling party, because the cases that he fights or the issues that he talks about are mostly in favor of the ruling party and against the opposition. So whatever issues those were, they were against the Mahavikas Aghadi, which is the opposition of the BJP. And then maybe it kind of made sense to me that if her father, who is a lawyer, is reportedly a close ally
Mm.
of the BJP, then he obviously, as you said earlier, a man going against a woman is not something that probably they want the public to
Mm.
see. So that is probably why
Yeah.
he made his daughter go out and file the complaint. But also it should also be noted that it is just a complaint that has
Mm.
been filed. A FIR has not been
Yeah.
registered.
Yeah.
The police actually registered an FIR or a complaint against the organizers of the rally
Yes.
after it took place. But like they had the permission for it. Girish Mahajan, after he was addressing the media after this incident took place, he mentioned that they had the permission for the rally. And he also said that when that woman was complaining to him in that moment, he told her that we'll get this cleared in 10 minutes or something. But I don't know how true it is. He probably just said it later on. But one thing that I actually found really funny was that he said in the beginning that road to block hoga hi. Like every time a
Mm.
protest like this happens,
Yeah.
roads are blocked. So you should just assume that, and then that just made me think about that Abhishek Upmanyu stand up, that criminal to crime karega hi. It's you should be aware
Yeah.
that you are aap apni body leke ja rahe ho to criminal काटेगा ही. So when a politician says something like this, it just makes it even more ridiculous that
Yeah, I think so. Can I just show you that video because I had that in the link. So, yeah.
महिला बिल पास न होने के कारण कांग्रेस के खिलाफ महिलाओं ने इसका आयोजन किया था और हजारों की संख्या में हमारी बहनें महिला उस मोर्चा में शामिल भी थी। लेकिन देखा रोड पे जब हम चलते हैं मोर्चा कहाँ से कहाँ हमको वर्ली तक लाना था तो रोड तो ब्लॉक हो गई। थोड़ी तकलीफ तो होती है अभी हर आंदोलन में। अभी आप इसका मतलब इतनी असंसदीय भाषा में आप बोलोगे, वहाँ आके इतना किसी को भी कुछ भी बोलोगे। मुझे बोला तो ठीक है, लेकिन पुलिस के बारे में भी बहुत गलत टिप्पणी उन्होंने वहाँ पर की।
When he says "मुझे बोला तो ठीक है," the energy that he gives. Have you watched Dhamal? I mean, obviously you watched the Dhamal, and then like Roy brings all the gunda on the from the bus to the down to what is it? Exited the bus, and then he said "मुझे बोला तो ठीक है, पर बाबू भैया को कुछ नहीं बोलने का." And then he hits Babu Bhaiya as well. So
yeah.
I think that yeah, like you said, basically it was he said that I mean roads will be blocked anyways.
Yeah,
Like
and
what?
I think these people say this particular statement, like this is not the first time I've heard. Like, yeah, मुझे बोला चलेगा इसको, but they just want to show that I am okay taking criticism, but you should not have said this to him because my
Yeah.
ego is not hurt. His, but if your ego is not hurt, why are you here talking and addressing about the issue? Like, you should have just let it go. And the fact that he also mentioned that they had a permission for it, and they were like, because they had a permission for it, it's okay if that happened, but then that does not make it right, because then people also have permission to play DJs and sound systems at loud volume till 10 p.m. in the city at every single whatever festival is there or whatever big event is there. So then does that make that also okay, just because they have the permission? Just because you have the permission from the police doesn't mean that you actually go and cause inconvenience to the people. And I think that is the point, that because
Yeah,
I watched that speech and what he was saying, and it just felt so contradictory to me. He was contradicting himself, and he
yeah,
just didn't realize it. He was just trying to defend whatever happened, but
Yeah.
it was just
I
so
think
funny to watch,
one of
and
a
everyone
very
should watch it.
a very similar thing that I saw online the other day was FSSAI posted a photo of I think it was like something but similar to the whole paneer thing that was going on a few months ago, where people were like experimenting on the paneer, seeing if it is actually paneer or something else. So they posted a very similar thing telling people to check if whatever that food product was, if it is like a good quality or not. And then people were like so crazy in the comments. They were going that this is your job. Why why are you telling the people to experiment at home? Telling them
yeah,
to check if it is right or wrong. This is your job. And then
yeah,
like that is the kind of contradictory thing that comes completely keeps happening, constantly keeps happening in these
yeah,
people. Like him saying stuff like this, ki yeah, अरे blood to prop hoga. Like FSSI saying ki हाँ, अरे like you guys check at home, no, whatever the
yeah.
product
Like
comes, you should check at
you
home.
should check it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. I'll just play the last video, and this will be, I think, just sum up. This will sum up a lot of things for us. This is a video from Faye D'Souza, and she is basically talking about the technical aspects of protesting in Mumbai. So yeah,
At that point in 2025, the same Maharashtra government actually brought in some rules. It designated Azad Maidan in town as the only place for protests and agitations in South Mumbai, and it imposed strict restrictions that you cannot do morchas anywhere else in the city because you'll inconvenience the people. Under the new rules, granting permission for an agitation is now at the sole discretion of a designated officer of the police. No protest is allowed after 6 p.m. No more than 5,000 people can participate. And most importantly, any proposed agitation, and I quote, cannot interfere with government events or cause significant problems to vehicular and pedestrian movement. The Mumbai Police Commissioner himself notified what they call Public Meetings, Agitations and Processions Rules 2025.
Yeah, I think this sums it up that they already have a rule because they had this rule because of the Maratha Morcha that took place in
Yeah.
Mumbai that was like literally blocked the entire city. So they took this decision that if you want to protest in the city, you have to go to the Azad Maidan or can't inconvenience vehicular movement. So sums it up that this protest was like a very bad move from the BJP and. I think if this incident wouldn't have happened, no one would have talked about it and just said that okay, this march and this happened. But they were unlucky to have this woman come up to them and confront them. That now everyone is talking about how this protest was not actually a protest for women. Then they made so many mistakes. Like it was like a domino effect for them that that Girish Majan didn't actually react in a way that would put him in a good light. They didn't actually tackle the issue of what she was raising. Then they came out and had a very bad response to it. They filed complaint against her. So it was like the sentiment they didn't understand the sentiment of common people, like what they wanted. So if you know what, if he was like a very good politician or understood his assignment, he would have maybe came up and sort of rewarded her for her bravery and said, you know what, we won't do that next time, and you were right to call us out. And although we were doing it for the right reasons, like from their perspective, we should remember all of these things as well. So it would have been like, you know what, yeah, this is a good man, like
Yeah.
he did the right thing. So I think it's the basics. If people think you're wrong, there's a good thing that you can just go there and apologize and say that we'll not do it. But what he did was that रोड तो block हो गई, मुझे बोला तो ठीक है, पर बाबू भैया को कुछ नहीं बोल देगा. And that police was hilarious. His reaction was,
Yeah.
yeah, all right. I think are we done? Anything else?
That's about it.
Yeah, that's good enough. I think. Yeah.
एक मिनट
All
एक
right.
मिनट
This was.
एक मिनट
Yeah.
I have a
हाँ,
call. हाँ.
yes, बोलना.
Yeah. So one last point that I would like to talk about was that when I was like checking the content online about all of this stuff, obviously there was a set of content that was talking about how great that lady is, but there was obviously a set of content that was uh in the favor of of BJP and this protest and how all of this is like bad, like the way that she was
Mhm.
talking was bad and stuff like that. So one thing that was mentioned in that video actually like got me thinking, and I would also like it would take us back to our conversation that like at the start of the podcast, which was like two three people were talking about this out of all of the videos that I saw, but they were saying that now this protest was a political one, but like a political party was conducting a protest like this, but what if the protest was done by farmers or was done by students or
Mhm.
probably the LGBTQ community? What if these protests were done and the lady would have reacted the same way? Would you still patronize her about would you still make her the hero of the story? What would be your take on that? So that is also the kind of narrative that is going on in the brains of the people who are for this protest and like in favor of BJP. So that ties back to what we were saying at the start of the podcast, which is that the intention of the protest also matters, but it is also that they think that the intention is right. So they will keep thinking that what the lady says was wrong because in their heads what she was saying was very superficial and shallow. Because she just wanted to like go, she did not want to be stuck in traffic, but this is a larger cause, this is a higher cause. So, people should not talk about this, they should not talk in a certain manner and stuff like that. So, yeah, that was one thing.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think when it comes to this, obviously there are going to be people who think that this is for the right cause, and it could be. Like
Yeah.
we are like no one to judge because there are a lot of complexities, and when this happens, we just have to like strip everything down to the
Yes.
technical aspects of it. You know what? It doesn't matter what kind of a protest it is. Even if there is a protest about the most horrible thing, it's still the right of those people to protest.
Yes.
But the thing is, when you're protesting, you need to just follow the rules. And
Exactly.
the
So
And
that's
basic thing is
that's
not
why they went wrong, because
inconvenience
it is a
people. Like,
system problem. It's an authority problem, and not the problem of the
yeah,
woman or the people that who are protesting. It is the system that should
yeah, not
put the
even problem of the
protest in check.
BJP or anything. Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah,
but the thing here is that, like, I also saw the same tweets, and that is why that farmers protest incident came to my mind. But the thing here is that most of these accounts are actually the IT cells of the ruling
That
party,
can
which they
be.
actually send out the
Of
same points
course.
and tweets
yeah,
to change the narrative for the people, because when they know that this is going to go against them, they try to bring out points from earlier. They try to what they say, populate social media with that one specific narrative where they are shown in a good light, or which makes people question that, hey, yeah, this incident also took place, but we did not react in the same way.
Mm.
So that is why people should also be aware that if you're seeing the same kind of narrative from the same accounts, it's probably planted, and
Yeah.
it's probably an you say it's a social media campaign or a strategy.
yeah, yeah. And that's a huge different subject as well. But thanks for introducing that. All right, I think this was it. And if you felt that we did talk a bit more sensibly than other videos, obviously do subscribe and comment, and we will be back next week or next to next week talking about something else. So stay tuned, and until next time.